So you guys have an interesting story how you met up with a Hollywood producer and it was less than favorable the first time out. Was that correct?
Yeah, that's. I mean, not that we met with a Hollywood producer, but more so that we were represented by ICM, and as a writer, Franz's agent was in New York, but there was some people in Hollywood that were interested in the story, so they're the ones who contacted our literary agent to see if it was possible to look into the possibility to work on Honeymoon with My Brother.
Okay. And what were things that you were noticing from these various meetings? We talked to one filmmaker who said it seemed like there were always meetings about more meetings.
Well, that's
let's set up a meeting to go meet,
Yeah, there's a lot of that. The couple things. One, they all love the title. Honeymoon with My Brother. All right, it says it all. What the movie's going to be about, and it's kind of interesting. And the filmmaker who ultimately did buy it said, "Oh, I bought it on title." He didn't read the book, but then he read the book and found out that there was a lot more there than he reckoned for.
I think it's interesting. Yes, there's always meetings and then more meetings, and oftentimes people are very enthusiastic in the beginning, like with the title, and it's this great story, but until Hollywood. Another movie is successful and goes down that road, then everybody will want to chase it and make the same thing. For instance, The Hangover, where we need to make The Hangover, where I'm sure that was probably a hard movie to get made originally because whatever it was, but it's just it's funny how Hollywood works.
Well, one of our actor friends who's now interviewing with agents and things said, as an actor, you want to go into those meetings, dressed up. As a screenwriter, you don't want to look like you're trying too hard, so you kind of want to dress down a little bit and just be a little more cagey. Are there things you can recommend to people on how to present yourself? Maybe keep some of your cards to yourself? I mean, what are some of the tips that you can share?
Well, the one interesting thing, we were interviewing some different screenwriters in the beginning stages, and the one, I guess, maybe mirroring the folks you're going to be meeting with is possibly some good advice, because the person who we decided to go with, first thing he did was he took a picture of himself when he was backpacking in Europe and he put it on the table. There you go. So we were like, this is probably the guy we want to go with. So,
and he had also dog-eared and post-it noted our book, throughout, and so it was obviously that he'd been going, and it was very, very tattered, the book, so he had been going through it over and over and over and over, and so that's always huge from a writer's perspective. Somebody's adapting your work,
that they've actually read the book,
and that they're really into the details. That gives a writer a lot of comfort.
Interesting. As far as the actual writing process, are you able to write at home? Is that too distracting? I know we've talked to other people that say they have to go somewhere.
Yeah, I can, and I'm not. I can write in a crowded space. That's fine. I've had to change my writing schedule a little bit because I got married and we have kids now, and so writing schedules go out the window, and you need to adjust it to your kids' schedule. First I was adjusting it to nap times, and now it's school times. So but in general, I tend to edit in the mornings. When I get up, have a cup of coffee, do a crossword puzzle, get my mind going, edit in the mornings, because that's when I think my mind is clear on that front. Maybe go in and patch up some things, have lunch, do something physical in the afternoon. Then I do best writing starting late afternoon and on into evening. This is when I was single. Obviously, now that I'm married, I take what I can get, but I does actually follow along those lines somewhat. Sure. I think I'm more creative later in the day, and I think I'm more left brain earlier in the morning.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I think it's the coffee is what it is. But do people recognize the two of you on the street, and what do they say if they ever do?
Occasionally, but and it is just like, hey, those are the Honeymoon Brothers. I saw you on Oprah, or I saw you on the Today Show, or it's better like when we did our first book signing in our small town where we grew up, Davis, California, where I think 700 people showed up to come to this book signing event and buy the book, and that was probably the one day that really felt the most like, all right, this is cool.
Right, like rock stars. Yeah. So you do these book clubs, and most of them are women that attend. What do they ask you? Are there just specific things in the book that they want to know about? What is the main gist of what they sort of?
The number one question we always get is, did you ever talk to Annie, the woman who dumped you? What happened to Annie?
Yeah, what happened to Annie?
And then I always say, well, you got to read the book. Generally, the fans break down into different categories. There's the book clubbers, and so that's a range. But the people who come to the signings and stuff, there's the travelers. They want to talk about travel. There's the dumpies or the dumpers and the broken hearts, and so I got a lot of emails from people who said, I got dumped too. We get a lot of brothers and sisters and family members, including one time we were in Chicago and this brother and sister came to the event, and they said that they had another brother who had passed away, and they weren't close, the three of them. They're in their 30s, they're young, and the sister gave the brother a copy of the book, and he said that the books really helped bring them together after their brother's death. So and then we get a lot of seniors who love LaRue, our grandmother, and think that she's really cool. So it's a real range. It's great for us because it makes our events really interesting. I know it's tough for the publishers because they want to put you in a niche, and your demographic is this.
And one other thing about the book clubs is it's interesting to see the variety of book clubs, and some are very serious and they have their questions typed out, and here's what we're going to be asking you, and others we show up and no one even talks about the book. Everybody's so enjoying their glass of wine or whatever that the book's never even mentioned. So it's kind of funny, the whole spectrum of that.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility to almost counsel people that have been through sort of life-shattering situations, and then they kind of look to you two like you're the answer in some sense? It seems like it could be a heavy bill to fill in some sense.
I mean, along the lines Franz was mentioning about some of the emails we get, maybe it's not that we feel responsible to help people out, but if someone does, we receive a lot of emails. So if somebody does send an email and ask for advice on something or how you did it or what you did, we're very good about responding to every single one of them. And we've received, probably over 3,000 emails from readers. But I think more so of us talking with folks and individually counseling people or whatever, the feedback you get from the emails shows that the book has changed or transformed somebody's life, and that's a huge reward.
I try to say, when I hear from dumpies or people who just entered a relationship, I never try to give them advice like go back to them, or try it again. The one thing I always say to people is, of all of the folks who I've met, who've been dumped at the altar, who left, not one of them has ever come back and said, I wish that relationship would have worked out. They've all gone on to better relationships, better situations, and so I try to tell people that point that, hey, look, you'll get to this point, and you will go on to bigger and better things, but it's still tough, working your way through those early months.
We always joke that if you've gone through a tough breakup, it should be required that 6 months after you get to see that person again, and then 9 times out of 10 you'll be like, God, why did I waste so much time and energy and mental space and agonizing over this relationship, where you see them and you're like, oh, I know.
And you forget about all the bad. I mean, there's a reason why
it didn't work.
It didn't work, and why on earth would you want to be with somebody when it's clear that it didn't work?